Hey everyone, today I'm going to review the LG Gram 14 2-in-1 convertible. This is the 2021 model, and this is actually a laptop where you can fold the display all the way to the back to use it as a tablet. And this has pen support, so in this video I'm also going to show you the handwriting and drawing performance of the pen, which uses Wacom technology. The main selling point of this model among the other LG Gram models obviously is the pen support, which can be quite useful for students or anyone who take notes, and the handwriting performance is actually quite good. If you're thinking of getting this for drawing purposes, well, just note that there are some limitations with the pen, which I will talk about more in detail later on. This is the comparison table showing the specifications for the different LG Gram models. You can find this table from my text review. What's missing here is the LG Gram 15, and only the LG Gram 14 is available in the 2-in-1 convertible format. All the other LG Grams are just laptops. If you don't need the pen, you can just go with the normal LG Gram 14 laptop, which is going to be more affordable. The prices listed here are in Singapore dollars. These are the items included in the box: the power cable, a 65-watt charger. This is quite compact. This is the LG stylus with Wacom AES2 technology. The build quality is solid and it's comfortable to hold. There are two side buttons. One is pre-configured as an eraser, the other one is a right click. I have no idea if you can actually customize these two buttons. At least I wasn't able to find out how to do so. Anyway, the buttons are located quite high up from the pen tip, which is nice because when I'm drawing, it's very difficult for me to click on the buttons accidentally. The pen tip has this matte textured surface which provides some resistance when writing or drawing on the glass display. The pen tip is considered smooth but not slippery, which is important when it comes to drawing. The pen has support for tilt and up to 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. This is an active stylus, which means if the pen is near the display, you are going to see a cursor. And depending on the app you use, you can get perfect palm rejection. So for example, here with this app, which is called Concepts, when I use my finger on the display, I can set it to move the canvas. So I can actually place my palm on the display and draw without introducing any stray strokes. The pen is powered by this single quad A battery with battery life rated to be around 18 months. Two replacement nibs are included, and that's the nib remover. Let's talk about the design. This is a good looking laptop. The design is very clean and simple, and it's quite thin. It's 16.8mm. Interestingly, the logo on the LG Gram laptops is silver while it's black on the convertible. It's shiny black against this metallic surface, which you can see is quite prone to fingerprint smudges. The build quality is very solid since this is metal. On the back, they are using the same magnesium alloy material that's used to make the LG Gram laptops, and that's how the company is able to get the weight to be so lightweight. This is 1.19 kg. This is 1.25 kg, so even though this is smaller, it's still heavier due to the top, the display being heavier. On the back, the screws are hidden behind the 4 rubber feet, and the speakers are here. Audio quality is alright. It's quite good for downward facing speakers. It's loud enough and it doesn't sound hollow. The display has thin bezels on the sides, thicker at the top and even thicker at the bottom. There's a HD webcam there. Colors look great out of the box. Viewing angles are actually fantastic. Color accuracy is quite good. I measured 100% support for sRGB, DCI-P3, 89%, Adobe RGB, and 87% NTSC. So this is a vibrant and relatively color accurate display, which is great for graphic design, digital art, video, and photo editing. The resolution of 1920 by 1002 on this 14-inch display is good enough. There is slight pixelation. This resolution is still very usable. Thank goodness LG went with the 16 by 10 aspect ratio because the extra vertical height is great for productivity. All the LG Gram models except for the LG Gram 15 use the 16:10 aspect ratio, whereas for the LG Gram 15 it's using 16:9. The display is laminated, so there is no gap between the glass surface and the LCD beneath, so the lines will always appear directly beneath the pen tip. However, you can see some latency as the line is trying to catch up with the pen tip. That amount of latency is quite common for 60 Hz displays. So here I'm trying to draw a cube by connecting the lines, and I am able to do so without any issues. There are no open gaps, so the cursor tracking for this pen is very accurate. There is no misalignment. When drawing, you have to fold the display all the way to the back. You cannot draw with this in the laptop mode. The hinge is stiff, but it's not so stiff to the extent where you can actually draw on this display without it moving. So you have to fold this all the way to the back. And when you do this, you will lose access to the keyboard, so you have to factor in some money to buy an external keyboard if you want to use keyboard shortcuts with the drawing software you are using. This is not very ergonomic for drawing, so when drawing I will always have this on a stand. This, by the way, is the Pablo PR100 stand. So now it's more comfortable to draw on this. If you want to use this as a tablet, I mean like hold it like a tablet for writing, drawing, or maybe watching movies or whatever you do, just note that this is 1.25 kg. It is very heavy for a tablet. So whenever I use this in tablet format, I will have it on a stand. And even right now with this bottom edge here on the table, holding it with one hand, I feel my hand, it's very tight. And also the only area where you can grip is this area here where the bezels is thicker, and this is where the fan exhaust is, so the hot air will be blowing into your palm. It's not that comfortable. For the ports on the left side, there is this 3.5mm audio jack, two Thunderbolt 4 USB-C ports, which can also be used for charging, and that's the charging indicator light. On the right side, there is this micro SD card slot. This is a slip button for you to use when you're using the tablet mode, because in tablet mode, the keyboard will be disabled, including this power button. And this is a USB Type-A 3.2 port. This spring-loaded latch or cover is designed in such a way so that the bottom here is flushed. To connect your USB device, there is this extra step where you have to lift up the convertible to push down the latch so that you can push this in. You can't just push this in like that due to the latch blocking. Keyboard layout is good. We have some useful shortcuts together with the function buttons, such as the airplane mode button and the button to adjust the keyboard backlight, a dedicated print screen button. These are the shortcuts for the page up and down, home and end. The power button has the fingerprint sensor built in. Fingerprint sensor works very effectively, and that is the tiny power light indicator. The keys have good travel and feedback. The typing experience is fantastic. This is a well-built keyboard. The trackpad works fine. There are the left and right click areas. The trackpad is big enough, it's accurate, and I really like the textured surface here. It's very comfortable to rest your palm on the palm rest. Notice the rubber cushion at the corner here and here. This is to cushion the display. When you're using this in laptop mode, this will be on the table. So what's the difference between the LG Gram 14 2-in-1 convertible versus the LG Gram 14 laptop? Well, the specifications are almost identical. There are two main differences. The first difference is the weight. This is 1.25 kg, so this is noticeably heavier compared to the laptop, which is just 999 grams. That's actually quite incredible. The other difference is on the laptop there is the HDMI port, but here there is no HDMI port. Let's talk about performance. So I'm into editing photos, videos, creating graphic design and digital art, and this laptop has no problems going through all those workflows with ease. Here's something strange. I have the LG Grab 16, which uses the 11th gen Intel i7 processor, which is supposed to be better compared to the i5 processor on this convertible, but for some reason the benchmarks for this convertible is actually better compared to the LG Gram 16 laptop. I'm not sure why, even though both are running the same operating system and are using the same settings. Based on my experience, even though this has the Intel i5 processor, it's still very capable when it comes to heavy workflow. The difference between i7 and i5 is not going to be night and day. And all LG Grams come with 16 gigs of RAM, so they are great for multitasking. You can open multiple apps, multiple browser tabs and switch between them. And it's still going to be very smooth, very fast. When under heavy load, the fans are barely audible. Fan noise is definitely not a problem here. If you want even better performance, you can go for the performance mode. This is the LG Control Center software. So I've been using Optimal with my LG Gram 16 for a few months and it works just fine. Putting up windows is fast and the fingerprint unlock is fast, so you can get into your desktop very quickly. The read and write speed for the NVMe SSD is 3.4 gigs per second read and 3 gigs per second write. So this is how fast it is when it comes to opening up an app like Photoshop. And this is how much time it takes to open a 900 megabyte Photoshop file. It's pretty quick. So here I'm trying to liquefy this image. This file is 120 by 60 centimeters at 300 dpi, so it's a high resolution file, and while using Liquify, it seems quite responsive to me. And now let's talk about drawing performance with the pen. The drawing performance will depend on the app you use. I'm using Medibank Paint Pro to test the line quality because this app has very limited customization for the pen, which is to say that you're going to see the pen's actual performance. Initial activation force is quite low, so you can apply minimal pressure to get a thin line. This is how thick the line really is. This is the slow diagonal line jitter test. I'm trying to draw this as slowly as I can and as straight as I can. I can see slight jitter, but overall the lines seem quite straight. This particular line is more jittery than usual. Yeah, so there is slight jitter. If you want the lines to be smoother, you can draw a bit faster. Or depending on the app you use, you may be able to apply some smoothing to the lines. This is the line transition from thin to thick. I can see some jitter again. It's not easy to go back to a thinner line or the thinnest line once you increase the thickness of the line, even though the initial activation force is very low. So it seems like the pen is sensitive, but it's not that sensitive at low pressures. So when I try to reduce my pressure to get the thinnest line possible, the lines would break. This is me trying to draw some dots, and as you can see, sometimes when I tap on the display, the dots, they don't come out. And lastly, let's see how the lines taper, and unfortunately they don't taper that well. They taper like I'm using a marker, which is to say there's no taper at all. You can see the taper is very abrupt, it's very blunt. And this is with Photoshop. It's also very difficult or impossible to taper the lines. This is Affinity Photo and Pressure Works. So this is thin and this is thick. The only app where I wasn't able to get pressure to work is with Krita for some reason. Pressure and tilt just doesn't work over there. When I say pressure doesn't work with Krita, what I actually mean is pressure doesn't work by default. It could work, but I'd want to spend a few hours to troubleshoot to find out what's the problem. This is Sketchbook Pro, and strokes they taper to a certain extent, so it's not that bad. This is quite usable. Let me move that out of the side. Most of the tablet apps such as Sketchbook Pro, Concepts, Sketchable, they actually perform really well. Yep, so here it's very important to be able to taper the strokes. This is Clip Studio Paint. I can see slight jitter with the slow diagonal lines, but it's actually not too bad. This app is able to taper strokes more smoothly, so this is a huge plus. And I can draw dots simply by just tapping without any issues. Cross hatching looks fine. Let's draw something really quickly with Clip Studio Paint. This is an app that performs really well when it comes to drawing, mostly because the lines are able to taper quite nicely compared to other apps that I've tried. And also with this app, you can actually tweak the brush to behave exactly the way you want it to perform. But mostly it really comes down to how the lines can taper, because for example, if you want to draw hair, you need the lines to taper. You cannot have the lines to have you cannot have blunt edges at the end of the strokes, so you need strokes to taper like this. Overall drawing performance is fine, I guess. Having said that, I would say those pen displays like those from Wacom, XP Pen, they will still perform better compared to this pen on this 2-in-1 convertible. But if you want a convenient device where you can use as a laptop and you can draw on, then yep, this is something you can consider. Depending on what you are drawing, the jitter with the diagonal lines may or may not affect your work. I mean, sometimes when you want to draw a bit slower because you want the precision, that's when the diagonal jitter may actually affect your work. But here it seems fine. And finger gestures, they work quite well. Occasionally, the finger gestures may not be registered, but most of the time it works quite well. So having the lines taper to get the lines to taper nicely is very important. Okay, let me just place some dots here, some freckles, some hair there. Looks alright. Oops, forgot to draw the ear there. Let me just draw the ear behind. Notice that the finger gestures did not work over there, but it doesn't happen that often, thankfully. Yep, so let me just do some hatching here. Yep, looks fine. Actually, this shouldn't look like this. Let me just cover it very quickly. There is going to be some latency with this sort of tablet. This is basically tablet drawing performance. This pen actually performs very similarly to the Samsung S Pen. And the matte texture tip is actually quite nice to work with on this glass surface. There is no textured feeling when you're drawing, but it's not slippery. That's more important. This app is Concepts, and with this app, I don't need that precise level of pressure sensitivity. I like to use this app with Windows because I like the flat coloring style. This is a vector illustration app. So depending on the app you use, the pressure or the tapering strokes, they may or may not matter. It certainly doesn't matter for this particular app. This was also drawn with Concepts. This was drawn with the pencil brush, which supports tilt. So you can tilt your stylus on the side to get broad strokes. This is how the transition from thin to thick looks like. Alright, let's try and shade this wheel here. Occasionally, I may see strokes within the shading. You can see some strokes there. And now it works fine. After using the stylus for a while, you will get a hang of how much tilt you need, or how you should tilt your pen to get those to get the shading that you want. When it comes to handwriting, it's actually quite a good device for note taking. So this app is able to capture my handwriting relatively accurately, and the latency looks fine to me. Windows touchscreen operation is not as good compared to what you can find on the iPad or Android tablets, mostly because of the way Windows and the apps are designed. For example, at the bottom you can see this taskbar. There are buttons on the left and on the right side. So sometimes when I'm drawing, I may accidentally activate some button on the bottom. And when this happens, I won't be able to draw because there is something there. And also, sometimes I may accidentally just swipe out this thing here, which is quite irritating because there is no way for me to disable this. At least with the taskbar, I can actually move it all the way up there. Some people may find having the taskbar up there weird. It's going to take some time to get used to that unless you want to keep hitting those buttons accidentally. Also, with certain desktop apps such as Clip Studio, Affinity Photo, Illustrator, Photoshop, where you have palettes on the left and right side, sometimes while drawing, you may activate the wrong layer and you will start to draw on the wrong layer, only to find out later on that you have the lines and the colors merged on the same layer. it can be disastrous. So if you want to work with desktop apps, you have to reconfigure the workspace to move the palettes to the other side, basically to the side where your palm is not on. This device works great with tablet apps, basically apps that are designed for use on tablets. For example, with this app concepts and with Sketchbook Pro and Sketchable, the UI elements, they are very minimalist, so you can see there are no palettes on the side for you to accidentally tap on. So when it comes to using tablet apps, the experience is actually really good. But when it comes to using desktop apps, you can get good experience, but you have to reconfigure your workspace first. Right, to conclude, the LG Gram 14 2-in-1 Convertible is a good looking device. As a laptop, it performs really well. The only area lacking is in the graphics department, and I do not mean the display. It has a beautiful display with relatively good color accuracy. I'm talking about the 3D capability. So you can play simple games on this, but definitely not AAA titles. You can create simple 3D models with SketchUp, but I'm not too sure about using Maya, 3D Max or Blender on this. When it comes to creating digital art, graphic design, editing photos, and editing simple videos, this is definitely more than powerful enough for those workflows. As a tablet, the limitation comes from the pen. I wasn't able to get those beautiful tapering strokes with most of the drawing apps I've tested, except for Clip Studio and Sketchbook Pro. And also there is this slight diagonal jitter when drawing those lines really slowly. I'm actually more bothered by the tapering strokes than the jitter, because for the jitter, you have to draw like really slowly. But for those strokes not tapering that well, it makes you feel like you're drawing with a marker all the time. Those two issues may or may not affect your work depending on the type of art you create. So if you're into creating line art and you do not use Clip Studio, which is the best performing app on this device, then you are going to face the frustration of not being able to get the lines that you want. So that's the limitation with this pen. Alright, so that's my review of the LG Gram 14 2-in-1 Convertible. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I hope this review is helpful. See you again. Bye.